All right. We're going to talk today about cortisol and why it matters. And I'm going to share with you kind of a horror story that I don't want anybody else in the world to ever live through, but I can guarantee you that many of you are. Some of you know it, and some of you may be on the brink of discovering it. And then there's others that you may have no idea what's going on or why certain things are happening to you in your body. But I want to preface this first. I got the idea of this video because I saw a video on YouTube of a neurosurgeon. This gentleman quit his job after I think like 20 or 25 years of neurosurgery, and he moved into the mountains, and this is where he lives now. So the title of the video, as you can see, is Cortisol and Why It Matters. Right now, I'm just outside the town of Agropoli in Italy. My wife turns 40 today, so I surprised her with a little bit of a trip. And I can't tell you how, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would have done this more often. And maybe not, traveling or going away, but taking breaks, I guess you could say. So I'm going to go back all the way to, we'll talk like maybe 2002, 2003, when I started as a graduate assistant strength conditioning coach at the University of Hawaii. I mean, man, I absolutely loved that job, but we worked 60, sometimes up to 80 hours a week. You were there at 5 a.m. for baseball every day, and you didn't get home till maybe 7 p.m., something like that. If you had to warm up maybe softball before a game or baseball before a game, or football was active, something like that, the hours were longer, and sometimes you were working on Saturdays, which was all well and good. I'm young. I had infinite energy. It didn't matter what I ate or how much alcohol I drank. Everything was pretty much a nothing burger. It was a non-factor. I could drink 12 beers and then get 3 hours of sleep, wake up at night, squat 275, 5x5, train all of my teams all day. Maybe be a little bit sluggish, but once lunch came around, I'd eat and, you'd have energy. It's not like that when you get into your 40s, especially now that I'm 46. It's drastically different. I have one beer and I'm feeling it the next day, which in all reality, I don't even drink anymore. It's just, to me, alcohol does nothing good. It serves no benefit, so I stopped. But let's go back to 2002. So what I noticed is that every year that I was working, it brought me to the brink of fatigue. And then we would hit May, where everybody would go home. And during the summer, as a graduate assistant strength conditioning coach, we would drastically cut our hours. We would work from maybe around 7 a.m. to noon, something like that. The rest of the day, you could do whatever you wanted. I'd typically go to the beach, relax, whatever. And then as August came around and we would ramp up for our teams again, you would be recovered. Now those breaks were like naturally built in. When I got done being a graduate assistant, I figured, hey, man, the shackles are off and I can work as much as I want. And because I started as an entrepreneur early, the more I worked, the more money I made. So to me, it was just a no-brainer. Like, why stop? Why take breaks? And I did okay as a strength conditioning coach all the way up into me owning my own CrossFit gym, which I did for 3 years. And I quickly found out that wearing all the hats in the business, you're the accountant, you're cleaning, you're signing people up, you're doing marketing, you're doing social media, you're also teaching every class, and you're taking care of yourself with wadding, strength training, whatever, what have you, in between. It took maybe, I want to say 6 or 7 months of me operating that business till I started to feel like I was in trouble physically. And this came right before Christmas. I remember I had the last Saturday class. I believe it was the 24th of December. And I went over to a party, a Christmas party, at like noon-ish. And I was like, man, something's not right. I mean, I was just laying on the couch. Something's not right. I went home, ended up going home, and I slept for 5 hours. I woke up at 6 and I went back to the party, and everybody, I had all these missed messages and everything. Everybody was like, man, we were waiting for you to come back. We thought something happened. It's like, no, I was just tired. So that was kind of like my first introduction to, okay, too much work. This is not a good thing. Okay. And when I ended up selling my gym 3 years later, there were many things that ended up falling by the wayside. And I can say that it probably contributed to some of the reason, not all of the reason, for my divorce as well. I was so engrossed in building that business and doing right by other people. Technically, I had like 92 other bosses. I had 92 members when I shut the gym down and sold all my memberships and sold all the equipment. So I had 92 other bosses. And, I know the gym isn't open at this time, but could you? I know you live right around the corner. Hey, I know it's Sunday and it's football's on. Do you mind just coming over, opening the gym? And instead of just opening it, I would stay, do a little bit of coaching. So it was a 7-day-a-week job that I essentially opened and bought for myself. And I didn't incorporate any boundaries, right? So when I ended up selling that gym, I kind of relaxed for a couple of months. I had money in the bank. And then I went and traveled for 3 months in Europe. So once again, here's my huge break, right? And I promise that I'm getting up to the point here pretty quickly. But I ended up coming back, and within 4 hours of me turning on my phone, I had people hitting me up. Hey man, you used to do those table sessions. Now, in conjunction with owning CrossFit Kismet and wearing all the hats and being the coach for all the classes, I coached 8 classes a day. I also did 4 hours, up to 4 hours of soft tissue work every day as well. Sometimes I was fully booked. Let's just call it 2 to 4 hours of soft tissue work in conjunction with training, in conjunction with having a wife, in conjunction with running every class. I came back and I just started to get these requests for soft tissue appointments. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm doing this full time now. Within a couple of weeks, I was making $3-4 grand a week, easy. The amount of people, word of mouth, especially friends that were helping me spread the word. Hey, this dude is the bomb. I had this happen. Nobody else could fix it. 1, 2, 3 sessions. I'm 100% and I can train CrossFit again, or I can do this, or I can do that. It was, I was enamored by it, to say the least, really. I mean, I thought that it was incredible. I was making so much money an appointment. I started off, I think, charging around $100 or $120 a session, okay? And once again, I'm like, hey, this is fantastic. The more I work, the more money I make. I only had a girlfriend at the time. I was living at her place, rented mine out. So I was just stacking cash, started buying real estate because I knew my days were numbered. I didn't know when I was going to have to pay the piper, I guess you could say. But, it came sooner than I thought. So I am 6 years into this gig. This is like 2021. I started in 2016. I'm talking around 2021, 2022. I can remember it, okay? And at this point, I'm up to 40 to 45 hours of soft tissue work a week. Sometimes on Saturday, sometimes on Sunday. Hey, people need help, right? And this is what I do. I help people. So my record, I believe, was 31 days straight of touching somebody, doing some form of soft tissue work. So I remember when COVID hit, I got a break for a week. I only did 10 hours of appointments that week because everybody was freaked out. And then when people realized what it was, I started getting all of my old appointments back and then some, because now businesses are closed down. So people were putting the word out. Hey, Chris is still doing his appointments. Go ahead and get right. He'll do right by you. So I'm doing even more appointments at this time. And I remember doing a workout and feeling phenomenal, just like feeling fantastic. And then that night, I started to have trouble falling asleep. I was like, man, why do I feel like this? Like, I know I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I'm laying down in bed and it felt like as if I were to just sit here with you and just close my eyes. I'm like, I know I'm not falling asleep right now. I'm like, man, this is weird. So I was like, okay. Then I would be able to fall asleep, but I would wake up at 11 p.m. or 12 p.m., 12 a.m., I'm sorry, wide awake. And I'm like, and I would wake up kind of startled. Like if somebody came in and just dumped a bucket of cold water on you. Like, what the hell is this, man? Sometimes I'd fall asleep 3:30. Sometimes I wouldn't. And then I would be up the entire rest of the night. Alarm would go off at 5:30 and I'm like, okay, this is weird. Other times I would fall asleep, but then I would wake up at 3 o'clock or sometimes around like 1:30 or 2 o'clock. And I start researching and wondering, like, why is this happening? I don't understand. And I would get the cute little messages like, oh, 3 o'clock is the God hour. It means the angels are speaking to you. Yeah, the angels may have been speaking with me and they were telling me to wake the fuck up. And they were telling me to wake the fuck up and change my lifestyle. Okay. So I ended up working and training myself into stage 2 adrenal fatigue. I ended up gaining like 15, 16 pounds. I usually walk around 180, 185, somewhere between there. I weighed myself at one of the Publix, like commercial scales that they have at the front door, and I was 199, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. I haven't weighed myself in a really long period of time. So that's when I knew. I was like, something is amiss. Okay, and I realized it was adrenal fatigue. And when you have adrenal fatigue, basically your body is just running off of cortisol. Forget fats, forget sugars, okay? Anything you ingest, the body doesn't care. It can't nutrient partition. This is why you get inflamed. This is why you blow up. And you'll see some people who they're on the cusp. They have a very inflamed face and the rest of their body may still look okay, but their face is very inflamed. This is a sign, this is a signal, okay? Big time problems already. They're on the horizon. It's coming, basically, if you don't change. So I was already completely inflamed, couldn't sleep, couldn't function during the day, but I had a family and I had to do what I had to do. So as I continued to kind of like figure everything out, what was going on in my body, this is the this was the timeline, I guess you could say, that everything happened. Okay. First off, I stressed my adrenals. Doing 40 to 44 hours of soft tissue work a week and doing CrossFit 5 days a week left my body with no choice but to run off of cortisol. Okay? stressed my adrenals to the max. Cortisol is now the only way that my body is getting energy. So the adrenals, they're broken. Okay, and I really like the adrenal insufficiency. Your adrenals don't get fatigued. They're not going to crap out on you unless if you have other diseases, okay? If you're just overworking yourself or over caffeinating as well, then really you're just going to get adrenal insufficiency. The adrenals aren't doing the right job. They're doing a job, they're just not doing the right job. And the job that they're doing is you're stealing pregnenolone, okay? And instead of making sex hormones, your body just says, yeah, make that into cortisol, okay? And then this is what you run off of. Cortisol would be like 100x from a cup of coffee, okay? So, and I'm going to make two parts of this video too. This is the first story about how fucked up everything is. And then the second part of the video is going to be like salvation, okay? How to fix all of this. So what I did first was I broke my adrenals, okay? And in breaking my adrenals, a couple of other things happened, okay? You break your adrenals and you are going to have a real big problem with your endocrine system, your organs, okay? So secondly, my gallbladder started to suffer and not do its job, okay? Because cortisol gets you amped. So what ended up happening was started to raise my level of irritation and anger, okay? In doing that, that's all related to the gallbladder and some of it to the liver, okay? And by breaking the gallbladder, you are going to increase the stress on the liver. The liver then not doing its job, okay? So what ends up happening is your thyroid kicks in and says, yo, I'm here to help. I'm going to convert more T4 to T3 and, we're going to get more energy and blah, blah, blah. And then as the thyroid got overworked, then that broke. And if you look at the Chinese clock, the thyroid is from 9 to 11, then the gallbladder from 11 to 1, and then you have the liver from 1 to 3, okay? And like I said, I started off not being able to fall asleep, then I would wake up at 11, okay? And then I would be able to fall asleep, but I would wake up at 3. And then there were days where I couldn't fall asleep at all. And those were the worst. I mean, I would lay in bed for 8.5, 9 hours and just listen to my wife breathe, okay? Talk about just sheer terror of knowing you're not going to feel good the next day. So I think that this is a pretty good point to wrap this first video up. And the reason why I'm doing it on a day like today is so you get to listen to the rain. You get to just watch this fantastic view behind me. And really, this is the first point of understanding how to control cortisol, and that's just introducing some tranquility or peace in your life, okay? And a lot of you might be thinking meditation, and guess what? I was meditating during all of this. Didn't do shit. It did not do anything. And I normally don't swear either, but I still got a lot of emotional pain surrounding this issue because it went on for close to 3 years for me. And in the midst of that, I had a second baby, in addition to our first. And I put my wife and them through hell and back for a couple moments, let's say. I'm a pretty aware dude. I'm pretty conscious. So I know when I'm acting like a dick, or I know when I lost my temper and I shouldn't have, or I know when I feel this irritation, like I just want to pop off on somebody and I don't know why, okay? And if you're feeling like that, it's not you. It's a gallbladder related issue. Something's broken. And in this next video, and maybe even a couple after that too, probably gonna have to make 3 or 4 videos because there's many different things that we're gonna get into, okay? I'm gonna teach you how to fix all of this and get back to the root and the core of who you are and how you're supposed to be and the amount of love and light that you can bring in the world as a result. All right. Always, guys, love, light, and aloha. And I'll see you in the next video.